more consistent and obviously scored more than last year?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one specific thing. I think just playing harder. I think maybe not playing harder. I think a lot of puck luck. Trying to stay on the pucks in the offensive zone. And, I think these are all just things that maybe I improved on over the year. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that could contribute to it, but overall, I think just a better year. Mentally a lot less hard on me, I guess. So tried to stay more consistent. That was a goal of mine this year, and still some games left, but overall I feel like I've been a lot more consistent with not only points and goals, but just the way I've been playing and being a factor every night.
The fearlessness you have around the net in such hard areas, is that something you develop at a young age, just being undersized, realizing that?
Yeah, I think I was always smaller. I played with older kids growing up, and so I was extra smaller. I think that helped my game, my hockey IQ, and finding other ways to be effective and really try to be a factor out there. So yeah, I think it goes from when I'm younger and obviously learning to adapt to the NHL level as well. So over the years, it's gotten better. So yeah.
How much did Todd coming in here and just his system and his kind of more aggressive offensive philosophy, did that help kind of unlock things a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, the way Todd wants to play, and like you said, be aggressive, and obviously you got to play in your D zone, and but I think the way we play now is probably a little bit more catered to my game, and makes me a little bit more effective. I think I think the way he explains things and has the guys going throughout the system is for me it was probably a better fit. So not saying the other one was bad in any means, but I think overall I feel just a little bit more comfortable with the way Todd wants to play.
There's obviously ups and downs throughout the NHL season, but when you look back on March, what do you think the difference was that kept you guys from keeping it rolling a little bit where you were?
Yeah, it's hard to say right now. I think there were a lot of things. I think just not being sharp enough. A lot of those games, you look back to those two Columbus games, and I think you could look back at a lot of different points in the season, but definitely the two Columbus games, those were big games for us, and losing both of those, and tough to even though I thought we played well, and the outdoor game, it's tough to get the confidence back, and when you're in a good position and you drop out of it, and but I mean, there's no excuses. I think we just didn't play well enough throughout that stretch, and it really cost us. I think it's frustrating to go year to year, be in it, and just not do enough to get in. So yeah, definitely frustrating. Hope to get some good habits and play well these last three games to get something to build off of for next year. And but yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot more reflecting to do after the season. But yeah, I mean, those are frustrating things to think about, and just being so close. I feel like these 2 years I've been here, especially being in a good spot. Had the Four Nations break this year and kind of blowing it. So yeah, frustrating.
Yeah, Alex, are you able to take positives out of your own season despite the team not getting to where you guys wanted to go? I mean, 40 goals within reach still for you. Just what do you make of your own season this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was definitely better than last year, consistency-wise, and being effective every game. I think played more consistent and hunting the puck, and I think even though maybe my plus minus isn't as good, I think I've been better in the D zone and been working on that. So overall, I think it's a fine year, but obviously not good enough. I think always stuff to build on, and with the position we're at, I think everyone in the room wants more and feels like they can contribute more. And
Todd, what's impressed you most about Alex DeBrincat in the time you've coached him here?
Competitiveness. We might say goal scoring, shot, the ability to surprise goaltenders, all those things, but competitiveness. Doesn't matter if he's scoring or not, he has an impact on the game every night. Physicality for his size, the desire to be on the ice and want the puck and finish checks. I think yesterday I talked about us wanting to or having to play a bit of a heavier game as we go forward. He can already do that at his size, so competitiveness.
Is that, so I think you've talked about this before, you hope other guys look at him and see, well, if he's doing that,
Yeah, that's part of being a leader. You lead by example, and you hope that you can drag others into the fray, if you will. And I think Kat does that nightly basis. Not everybody has their best game every night. But if I look at the 40-some games that we've been here, he hasn't had many nights off.
And you're going with Cam again?
Going with Cam again, yeah.
Is Peter going to play again? Because he has been available, right? Because he's been
Yeah,
backing
Peter
up.
will play again.
Todd, what are the things you're obviously focused on tonight and the remaining games this week, but as with some of the younger guys that you never got the chance to know before and you kind of learned on the fly, what are some of the things that maybe you start to try to take notes on so you can be ready to work with them more in the fall?
Well, I do think, I understand your question, and we're 3.5, 4 months or whatever it's been now, has allowed us to begin to really figure out some individuals, create relationships, young and old, but you specifically talked about the youth and moving forward. They have a better understanding of what our emotional level is like. Whether it's myself or Alex or Trent calling somebody in and wanting to talk to them, it's not always about going to the principal's office and, getting detention. Sometimes you go in there and you get rewarded. Hey, asked you to do these things, you've done a real good job. Sometimes it's the other way. Like, they have to figure us out. They have to create a sense of trust in the coaching staff, and we have to create a sense of trust with the players. And I think we've worked hard on that over the 4 months. And when you create that, you have a way easier time in communicating on an honesty basis. You can be a little more direct, and I think the message is received a little bit better. So, not sure if I answered your question, but that's how the relationships have evolved with Patrick Kane, 1,300 games tonight, all the way down to Casp at 20 years old. And some are easier than others from our perspective, but also from the players. I'm sure some are more comfortable with us than others.
Obviously, you and Trent have your whole history together and everything, but what's been like when you kind of now look at this half a season with some of the other assistants that you may have known in the past, but now worked with them through here, both Alex's, for example, on the coaching staff, and now that you kind of learned about that relationship with them.
I like our staff. Yeah. I like our staff. If you're all, one of the toughest things is blending a staff halfway through the year. The loyalty amongst staff members is real strong. There's a strong bond. Rarely is it ever divided. And, and I know this from talking to Jans, you lose somebody you trust and value in whatever position they are halfway through the year, and blend two staffs together. It's not easy. Our staff in my opinion, did an outstanding job of accepting newness and still remaining loyal to people they worked with in the past. I think the staff is made up quite well of different personalities, different views and visions on the game. They've been open to change, allowing their opinions about players to change, or strengthening their opinions about players. Now that we've been here and maybe we see some of the things they've been seeing for 4 years already. Or we may say, boy, I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen that yet. And they go, well, maybe it's changing. So a good mix or blend of hockey people in that room right now.
Todd, you and Pete coached together, I think, at Worlds
Yeah.
about 10 years ago. Do you have any memories from that time coaching together?
Yeah, there's 32 of us and another 20 that are sitting on the sidelines, head coaches in the league. And if I had to pick up the phone in case of an emergency, Peter DeBoer's number would be at the top of the list. I just have a real good relationship with him, respectful. We compete against each other respectfully. Our paths are so similar. Leaving major junior at the same time, same amount of games. Both been in San Jose. Like there's a lot of familiarity, but his wisdom and acumen for the game is off the charts, in my opinion. And yet he makes the game and the coaching profession fun when you're there. He works his ass off, but now we went 10-0. We had some pretty good players, and we were in Europe for 3.5 weeks, so we had some fun and enjoyed the stuff. But that's not what it's all about. He's really good, and I think anytime you can, what's that show, Call a Friend or whatever it is, in the time of need, I would reach out to him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Todd, can you talk about Berggren's season? He's had difficulty just gaining consistency and traction. I see you had him with Larkin and Raymond for a bit the last game. What do you need to see from him here these last 3 games, and just to get jump started here?
Well, Bergie's been, when we first arrived, again, didn't know much about Bergie. He happened to score 2 goals on breakaways right away. You could sense his confidence level going up, and then talked a lot about him and played him and all that type of stuff. And somehow he's worked his way back to being in that middle ground. So ultimately, at the end of the day, he and only he is responsible for his results. We can help him. We can do all the things that we believe can push him in the right direction, but he's got to get it out of himself. And I think he's a real smart player. I think he's got all the tools to play. He's just consistently got to put it together. And self-evaluation, I think, is real important for all players, Bergie included. And what do we need to see? Well, we need to see him competitive. If he's here for, tip the scales offensively a little bit and maybe not so much defensively, let's see some of that. But we've been asking for that for a lot of the year. You're also a victim sometimes of circumstances, where you play, how much you play in the lineup. I don't think that Bergie fits well on a fourth line. I think Bergie's much better in the top 9. But you also have to capture the moment when you're there, and I'd like to see him capture this moment. It may not mean anything in the standings, it obviously doesn't, but for him individually, capture the moment.
Todd, you've talked about this off and on, I think, but jumping in mid-season, what was the most difficult aspect of that for you? Just learning the team, or what was the...
in looking back, there's 2 parts to it, is learning the players and what makes them tick. In retrospect, looking back at, how aggressive we were with some individuals, maybe that was too aggressive right off the bat because we didn't know them real well. Maybe other guys need a little more squeeze or proverbial kick, if you will. But now you kind of know that a little bit better, so it took some time. And then the other thing is just, game 1, like basically into game 1. And he didn't even think about it, but players turn around and ask you questions, well, what are we doing? And I'm looking over at the assistants going, well, what are we doing in this situation? Are we forechecking 2 people off face-offs? Are we in 1 man? Are we... there wasn't even time to discuss any of the systems. The next day, okay, well, let's start with one thing. Well, pretty soon we're 30 days in, we're going to a break, we're practicing, and you still haven't got everything done. So there's that many dynamics in a game or in a system, and you miss training camp, you really do, but it is what it is.
Todd, you mentioned Patrick Kane, 1,300, all the accolades, goes without saying, but you've coached against him and now coached him. What stands out about his career from your perspective?
I'm glad I'm coaching him and not against him. Well, where do you start?
Right.
Like, where do you start? We have 1,300 games, 3 cups, every international event you can possibly think of, records as a U.S.-born individual, but records in the NHL, too. He's pushing his way up there. So that covers everything. Let's go to game 1,300. I think he's got the same amount of passion and drive for the game now as he probably did in game 13. Maybe more. And he believes he can have an impact on the game nightly. And quite often he does, so it's remarkable.
And last thing, how important is Fan Appreciation Night for the players and the coaches as they play the last game of the season here tonight?
Well, it's important for everybody in the organization. There's a lot more to the team than just the players and the coaches. There are people sitting in this room that contribute to the season. There's people back in that room that make sure those players get everything they possibly need, and they're a part of our team. And we all thank them for coming out. I know, and it's not BS. I know how they feel, and I know what they want, and we failed to deliver that. And we got to live with that again, and we got to go make it better next year. But they're still Detroit fans. I talked about it yesterday. They have there's a distinct passion, not only for the Wings, but for all the teams in the community. It's a sports town, and they appreciate effort and they want a winner. And we can't give them the second thing, so let's make sure we give them the first thing.
Yeah, Todd, just obviously, when you came in halfway through the season, you guys accomplished a lot, got a lot of winning. March was a struggle, but when you were eliminated officially, what was your reaction to it happening on Saturday?
It's a little bit. It's not as dramatic as you think it is because you can kind of see it coming. You're putting on a brave face, hey, we can win them all and they'll lose them all. But there's also reality that in the back of your mind sits in. And I was watching Toronto play Montreal the other day, and I was swearing at the TV again. I'm going like, Toronto, you've had so many chances. Put them in, whatever. But then I'm thinking, why? This is insane. I'm sitting there cheering for another team. We had complete control, or not complete control, but we started with the same amount of available points as every other team at the beginning of the year, and we didn't get enough. So if I'm sitting there cheering for Toronto Maple Leafs versus Montreal Canadiens, it's insane. And that's how I, turned the TV off and just said, I'm not doing this to myself or to the team. We take care of what we can take care of. So that's how that moment of you're out hit me anyhow, personally.
Did you finish watching the game then?
No, I turned the damn thing off. It was going into overtime and it didn't matter. The point was gone, so.
And just the other thing is, what gives you the most hope moving forward into next season, whether it's the players working with Steve, organizational, recalibration, what is it?
Well, all of those things, allow for hope. There's always hope. You look at the development and the evolution. We talked about Marco Kasper every day for the last 6 weeks. He's been playing against the other team's top lines with Elmer Soderblom on his wing. That doesn't happen in a lot of situations, so there's hope there. The kids on the blue line, some of the veterans that really started to get their game together that are going to be back, there's hope for that. The power play, for the most part, was able to evolve, change. Yeah, we went up and down a little bit, but that's a pretty damn good power play. Hope to fix the penalty kill. There's time and there's players and there's technique and there's strategy that can get implemented to try and fix the penalty kill. So there's hope all over the place. And if anybody's looking at it any differently, well, then we really don't need them around, do we? So that's something we got to figure out too.
Hey, Todd, one of those reasons for hope is probably Simon Edvinsson, a 21-year-old playing 21 minutes a night. Just curious what you've made of his play this season over the 3.5 months that you've watched him from up close.
Yeah, it's been impressive. As much as his play's been impressive, his growth as a 21-year-old around his teammates, and he's a harder player now. He's He's more aggressive now. He's more responsible for the good and the bad things that happen during a game. Like, he is really grown up and maybe gone from a boy to a man. I don't know if that's fair to say, but, and there's still more runway there for him to keep going. So you see all the hockey stuff. We see all the other evolution, the commitment to strength, and both mentally and physically exists with him. So that's been impressive.
He's shown some flashes of offensive upside. It seems like there's probably some more in there. How do you help him access that in the years ahead, if that is a priority for you?
Yeah, and some of that's experience, timing, access to more offensive type situations. He's playing on the power play a little bit right now. So all of those things are good. What's impressive about him, like, if you take that front sheet, and we got a lot of minus individuals, he ends up at plus whatever he is, 9. Now, plus minus is a terrible stat in my opinion. But when you got dash everything on your team and you look at 2 or 3 players that are on the plus side, he's done something well, on both sides of the puck.
Why don't you like that stat, Todd?
Because I think it's so irrelevant to what happens in the moment. Like, you watch I don't know who it was, we scored in Tampa, and we're right in the midst of a line change. Okay, and whoever was going, I think it could have been Patty Kane was going out and somebody was coming off. Well, they quickly exchanged and said, no, you get back out there, because they understand stats. So the work was done by player A, but player B had just stepped on, and player B would have got the positive outcome for that moment and had his skates on the ice for 2 seconds. The players start to manage that a little bit, and I think when that happens, it's a real crappy stat. Like, it just, you give credit and lay blame on something that makes no sense. Like, you get a minus for 6 on 5. Well, the odds are like 95% of the time you're going to get scored on. So, all of a sudden it adds up. You have the same 6 players out there for the last minute and a half in a game 15 times a season, and you get scored on 10 while you're dash 10. So it makes no sense, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, Todd, just we don't get to speak with Steve very often. Can you give us a gauge of what his, I guess, temperament, demeanor's been, how he's handled this last stretch where you guys were in it, out of it, and just down the stretch, just not being able to get there? Can you give us a sense of what his?
Yeah, and he, you'll be able to ask him that question, but I can tell you that he and I meet on a regular basis. Sometimes it's very casual, sometimes it's very formal, but the emotional level that he shows, Steve's a winner, and he wants to drive this team to winning. He wants us to push them. He wants players to be pushed to the limit. And when he sees us not get to that point, it can be frustrating for him, his staff, for the fans, for the players, for the coaches. We're all in it the same. So he expects a lot from our group, and we've improved, but we're not where we need to be yet. So he wants, and rightfully so, expects more from all of us.